Hello and welcome. I'm here today talking with Joanne Humphreys. Thank you, Joanne, for being here.
A pleasure always.
We are continuing our bid to talk about things in short periods of time. And today we're talking about salt. This is a huge topic in the plasma Shivambu community. And we're going to approach it in a few different ways and see where we land. But one of the, I mean, just the part of what came to me right away when we said we're going to talk about salt is this whole discussion of like what is salt? What do we mean by salt? Why does the body need salt? And how is that, but how does it become polarizing when we think we're talking about something that's really pretty straightforward? But I'll just start with saying that there's salts, and then there are more specific definitions. So we as a society we've used a shorthand where we say salt, and what we mean is sodium chloride. We mean rock salt or table salt. That is not the only salt. There are so many salts on this planet, but we say salt, and that's what we're talking. That's what we all know we're talking about is really table salt. Table salt is also then people go, oh, well, I don't use table salt. I use Himalayan salt. I use black salt. I use Celtic salt. So,
All sodium chloride mostly.
right. So we're going to just come back to if it's in a rock crystal form, it's sodium chloride, NaCl. That is a rock salt. So
Inorganic.
inorganic rock salt. And then some people
Yeah.
will come back and say, this is inorganic and that's inorganic. We eat all sorts of inorganic things. Sure. We're not having that discussion today. We're just focusing in on NaCl and the difference between that and Na, between sodium. We need sodium. Also, just again, broaden this out, magnesium is a salt, potassium is a salt. What do? They conduct electricity. That's one of the main things that is going on here. They're conductive. So our body needs all of these salts, but what we have discovered in our practice, and we didn't see it coming until it hits you over the head. And so many people who practice Shivambu and plasma over time, they report the same thing. So all we're doing, this is an informative piece. And if it never happens to you, it never happens to you. And that's perfectly fine. But we find we become less tolerant of NaCl. Rock salt in any
Oh my
form,
gosh.
the body starts to reject it.
It does not want it. My body definitely does not want it. And we actually talked about salt when I was still back in Laos and I was still fermenting. I was still doing lacto fermentation and I had a salt collection. And when you said some of this in a discussion we had, I was like, no. But my own body told me, like, confirmed what you were saying just by removing it and seeing the reaction that my body had. And then being off of salt, sodium chloride, rock salt for like a long period of time, like not long, actually, just even a few weeks. And then having salt, having it going out and going to a restaurant and like, I mean, it's like inundated. You're inundated with salt when you get out there and in a restaurant. And like immediately the next day, my legs were swollen. I couldn't see my ankles anymore. I had huge issues with water retention in like the lower part of my body for years, since in my 20s. And I was constantly, if you saw me sitting down, I would have my feet up, like I would elevate my legs because I had to, otherwise it would just pool too much. And at night I would put my legs like up on the wall to just have that elevation to try and get this, like, they ultrasounded my legs. They're like, what's going on? I think a lot of the retention and pressure that especially women have in the lower part of their bodies and their legs is from this. It certainly was for me. It just eliminated the problem.
Wow. Like, and I guess soon, like a week after you stopped eating or within a few weeks, you noticed a difference.
Yeah, I had definition in my calves again. I could see my ankles, like my legs completely different. I would always wear long pants because I was Like it was disproportionate. Like my upper body and my lower body were like two different things were going on.
Hmm.
And walking long distances, I had, because the pressure would build up. Walking long distances was a big problem. Um, a shoe, even with any kind of heel on it, I couldn't do.
Hmm.
I couldn't do it.
And so part of what we see is like this is your experience. And I mean, other people who reduce their salt, their rock salt intake, let's again keep this into the thing,
Mhm.
may not have that physiological predisposition, right? So that may or may not be
Sure.
something that people see, but somebody else might find their skin changes, their
Mhm.
hydration level changes, just how much they
Oh,
feel like they
all
have
of
to
these other
drink,
things happened. Yeah.
their irritability can also
Mm.
shift. Because salt, you've mentioned it too, it's another addiction. And anything that we're
Oh
addicted
my
to
God.
leads to irritability, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a frustration and anxiety that comes with
There was like a withdrawal. There was a definite withdrawal. I was having withdrawal symptoms. I looked it up. I'm like, what is this from the salt? Is this from the sodium chloride? And I Googled like sodium chloride withdrawal symptoms. Boom. There it is. I'm not the only one. Um, Crazy. It's a drug. It's you could classify it as a drug. It's
yeah.
absolutely nuts.
So
And
then
then the food when I was eating, I would have like a tiny little bowl full of food and like it was almost like I was forcing myself to eat because without salt was totally different for me because I was just so used to having salt. And that's all. And so my palate, like, just completely, it's like you're tasting now. It's been months now. Now it's like you actually taste the food.
right.
It's like I had to retrain myself to eat.
And that's something that Shivambu does anyway. Like when people first start using Shivambu, especially if they start cleaning out the sinuses, they start doing mouth
Mm.
swishing,
Oh
you're
gosh.
you're cleaning all this stuff. You can't taste well if you don't smell well,
Oh yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
as we use Shivambu anyway, we're retraining our palate, we're retraining our sinuses, we're retraining
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh, eh?
microbiome to say when we put something in our mouth, we get a much stronger yes or no. I should eat this. I
Yeah.
shouldn't eat this. This is a good time. My body wants this thing, or it's not a good time of day. Eat it tomorrow, but don't eat it now, right? Whatever it happens to be, we get more information. And part of what you're talking about, salt is so aggressive. Again, it
Yeah.
hits you. And so how can you taste anything else? It with
Yeah, and
subtlety.
that's what I realized. I realized mostly that I've been tasting, salt, like, with a little hints of spices in the background. Now I'm tasting the spices.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the flavor of the food is the spices now.
And so
And
some people will,
you eat less. You just,
yeah,
you're gonna eat less
you're going to eat
when you
less. Yeah.
take salt out. That's why they put the salted peanuts on the table. That's so not just so you'll drink more. You're gonna eat. You eat way more with salted food than you do with no salt.
Yeah. And some people will
Absolutely.
then say, but yeah, but how do I get my salt? Because we also said at the beginning, we need salts. And so turns out plants are full of sodium and magnesium and potassium. In fact, if you eat only potassium containing vegetables, sometimes you can overdo it. So if you eat a lot of sweet potatoes and carrots, and at a certain point, your doctor might go, okay, slow it down on the potassium. Like you've got a lot coming in there. So uh, the plants around us have these in them. They need them to live as well.
Mm,
This is part of also the whole idea of the photosynthesis and light, because light is part of energy, and energy is comes also from these salts, which there's again, I'm not a scientist, so it's like somebody else would be like, say this word. I know there's something with ions in there and whatever, but that's not my area. So I'm going to try to stay out of using words or concepts that I don't have a backup for. But the reading that I've done in my own experience in my body has shown me that, for example, people say, well, I'm craving salt. Guess what? Celery, full of it.
mm.
So whether you want to juice the celery and have some celery juice, because that will, especially when you stop eating so much salt and then you have a mouthful of celery juice, it's so salty. But
Wow.
this is pure sodium in plant form, right? Again, so
Yeah, in a living thing. Yeah.
and that's the same then with the potassium, the magnesium, all of these things. And so, as an example, um, within anyone who's doing what we're doing, we have a choice. We can stay in the world of I'm using these holistic methods and I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm great. I'm one of the people who I bridge the two worlds. I go between like Western medical stuff and the I I work with Shivambu for almost everything. So I had tests done. No, people don't need to go out and have tests done if they don't want to. But my sodium level is normal. My potassium level is normal. And I'm not at the point where I don't know whether Joanne's eating and I'm still going to a restaurant occasionally. I'm probably having way more salt than you do because I have not completely stopped myself from going to restaurants. And if my parents make something and I'm with them, I'll try a little bit. They know I don't want things to be salted and that they can put salt on after I get my portion of something. But it sneaks in. Even just
Hmm.
with all the best intentions in the world, it
No.
sneaks in.
It's probably the number one hardest thing to avoid.
Yeah. So
And
like
my some of my friends who their doctors have told them you need to not eat salt. They try to, even these plant-based restaurants, it's like salt. It's the thing that's so hard to avoid. It's crazy.
I got a spice mix that has like mushrooms in it and other adaptogens. And I was reading it down. I'm like, great, 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 great.
Salts.
Salt.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let us add it if we want it.
Really easy to add. Really
Yeah.
easy to add.
If there's anything that's easily accessible, it's salt.
Yeah. But it's usually the last thing on the list. So it's not a huge amount. But I don't, then I sit there and I go, do I want the benefits of this particular spice mix? Or is it and the convenience that someone else made it for me and it has these mushrooms so I don't have to buy them and mix this myself?
Sure.
Or and am I going to put up with what is understandably a teeny tiny amount of rock salt, but still it's I'm
Yeah.
trying to avoid it. So,
Yeah.
what are the
It's
we,
crazy.
we all have to take those moments and decide
Yeah.
if we're going to do it. So
Yeah.
this isn't about shaming anybody for going, I needed
No.
convenience. Convenience wins sometimes.
No, there's nothing, yeah, there's no shame, there's no blame, it's all good.
Yeah. But this
It's
is
just
part,
really interesting.
yeah.
It's really interesting how heated up people get about this topic. Um, but yeah, when you put salt on cabbage, the salt is damaging the cellular membrane. That's why it's breaking down like that. So that's sort of like a tip to what's going on when you put this inside your body.
Well, and in northern countries or countries where there's snow or mountains, we in the past people have put salt on the roads
Yeah.
because it clears the ice off. But what does it do to cars? It eats the
Uh-huh.
bottom of the car. People where I live,
And
people,
kills all of the plants along the side of the road where that snow gets where that gets tossed off to the,
yeah.
yeah, it's hardcore.
So again, if we look at what happens, we have lots of evidence. A friend of mine, her perfectly good car in every other respect, the bottom rusted out of it after 4 or 5
Yeah.
winters in Canada.
Yeah.
And
And the other interesting thing about salt is that it's not they're not allowed to have it in baby food,
mm,
which really I was like, "Whoa, this is like the essential thing that we need." It's forbidden in baby food. And I went into the grocery store, I went into the baby food section, and I'm like, "Oh my god, there's no salt in any of this stuff." Like the jarred baby foods, potatoes, and the whatever
yeah,
mashed up peas, whatever, no salt.
yeah,
'Cause they're not able to handle detoxing that. Like, you could kill a child
yep.
with salt. And I wonder about infant mortality from this. I really I wonder. Anyway, I won't I
Yeah.
won't go any further than just that statement, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really interesting.
And so this
You
is we
can
take for granted.
the samurai warriors, they would have carry a little pouch of salt with them, and that was if they needed to have a painless, well, I don't know if it's painless, but you
A
can,
quick exit
yeah,
from the world.
yeah,
Salt was one of the ways they could make that
yeah,
happen because they wouldn't
yeah.
have been carting around cyanide and stuff like
No.
that with them. So yeah. So this
So
is
interesting.
as a short discussion on rock
I'm
salt,
sure
sodium
this is gonna
chloride.
get some interesting comments.
We're just sharing
Never.
what we've experienced and how much
Yeah.
of a difference it's made the more we've cut this
Mm.
back.
Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful that we had that little interaction so many years, more than 2 years ago now, probably.
Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, that planted a seed in me. And yeah, and the more digging I did, the more I was like very skeptical, became very skeptical. And then finally just run the trial.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we always do in the end. We come back to running.
Experience beats knowledge.
Hmm. Yeah. And how many people go off sugar for a month, right? Or something. And they're like,
Yeah, I
and
know, hey?
so it's like, try it. Go off
Yeah.
salt for 5 days and then eat some. Like, oh, the other thing I'll say is that the more I've worked with Shivambu, the more it has steered me away from things that it doesn't want me to eat.
Right.
And those might not be what it doesn't want other people to eat. It's just not what my body wants. Sometimes there's overlap, but like it steers me toward the thing that's better for
Yes.
me. And it also helps me if I do eat it, it seems to help me come back to balance faster.
Mm.
So if you do go to a restaurant and the next morning you're tasting it and you're going, oh, yeah, I can taste some things in there. If I drink that morning Shivambu and then I drink my next plasma and I can come out of feeling like I got hit with something that I'm not
Yeah,
used to eating. I can be back to feeling my normal self pretty quickly.
absolutely. And actually, I'll add to that, and you'll probably agree. Drinking some of your drinking some of your Shivambu that you know doesn't have sodium chloride in it.
Mm-hmm.
That really helps to flush the system too, in my experience.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, most of those are from times when if I could guarantee it, it's from times when I was fasting. But even then, if people are like, what are you talking about? If you're doing a fruit cleanse, a juice cleanse, just because juice and fruit really help the Shivambu to taste amazing. And months
Mm.
later, like one time I ate basically just because I had it on hand, I had local organic watermelon. And it
Mhm.
was the summer. And so I basically ate that for 5 days or 7 days. And I was doing a liver cleanse as well. Anyway, the plasma that I gathered from day 3 to day 7 was just stunning. And it's some of the nicest aged that I've ever had.
Wow.
And that's like,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how beautiful you can get your plasma to be on fast like that, hey?
yeah. But also to say, like, sometimes people I've discovered again over time, over many
Mm.
years, if I do a 7 day thing, day 1 and day 2, the plasma from day 1 and day 2, although nicer, the body's dumping a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's not as nice as day 3. So I have found day 3 and onward, like the body has to start getting rid of, since we're talking about sodium chloride, the sodium chloride that's stored
Mm.
and that you've recently had. And so that starts getting dumped, at least in terms of flavor. I'm not talking about huge amounts because that would still go out through your stool. But what you can taste, the urine is always showing you um, that profile of here's what's in your system. We're letting you know so that you can taste the difference. So day 1 of a fast, day 2 of a fast, you can taste all these things that are being activated and leaving. Day 3, it starts to feel a lot smoother. It starts to taste different.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And for salt, I think it's probably a good idea to mention, the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sea salt is also the same sodium chloride as the Himalayan salt, pink, black. whatever color.
Doesn't
Um,
matter. Yeah.
right. And our bodies don't absorb. Yes, it's really nice to go in the ocean, and there's a benefit there to us with that negative ion, like the negative charge that the ocean has. It's really good for our
It,
bodies.
it helps pull
But
stuff out.
right, but our tissues do not absorb salt. Like when you go in the ocean and you come out and you lay in the sun, you're going to be dusting that off your body. Your body doesn't
No,
take that in,
no.
which is another tip. Like that was another clue for me. I was like, wow, our tissue doesn't absorb this for a reason. It doesn't want it inside it. Our
And you're,
bodies are intelligent. I just like go, that's where I learn from my own organism.
but also your skin on the outside, like the actual texture and stability and functionality of this epithelial layer, this is stronger than your mucous membranes and all the
Yeah.
organs. So if this doesn't absorb the salt, but the skin
Oh,
inside your body cannot fight against it.
right. Exactly.
And people talk about
Exactly.
sediment building up in the body, and that when they start working with Shivambu, there's like this sediment gets washed out of their system,
Hmm.
and that is a lot of the rock salts and other inorganic things that have gotten into us in many different ways, and it's like a
Yeah.
sediment in our system that needs to leave.
Oh gosh, hey. And
Yeah.
our first, that's my first glass of urine was urine, and now it's Shivambu. Like now it's changed into something else.
Mm,
It's no longer, I don't even think of it as the same thing like my first cup that I had
yeah.
out of my body. And with the aging process too, because like as you say, you're dumping all of this sediment and mucus out of your body. And if you collect all of your Shivambu, you see such a huge difference. And even when you're fasting, as you've already said, but that first year, that first 6 months, really, those Shivambus had a lot more sediment collecting at the bottom of them than they do now. It's a
Well,
huge difference.
and I mean, for me too, like I also find this super interesting. Again, like I've been doing this for, um, I started aging in 2018, September of 2018. I started bottling things. And so I've seen all different things happen. But every now and again, I get a jar that surprises me. And there's all sorts of film on top. Or
Hmm.
there's a lot of sediment at the bottom, but no film
Hmm.
on top. Or
Hmm.
like, so, but it's usually like there's this one, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what happened? Did I let go of something? Or are you processing
Yeah.
for me? Or like, because it'll be sort of the same. And then this one bottle will be totally different.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that. It's not just diet related, is it? It's like emotional. There's an emotional um aspect to all of this that we usually get onto topics like this with just the physical,
Yeah.
but there's like a whole bunch of emotional detoxing that happens, and that is reflected through our hormones and everything that's going on inside the body, and it's reflected in our plasma, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. And
So, yeah.
the cosmology too,
Yeah.
like as you were saying before we spoke about the new moon, this last new moon, like
Yeah.
yeah, powerful times, and that impacts our bodies and it impacts our blood.
And the Shivambu is
And
our filtered blood.
right, and that is what your plasma
Yeah.
is. Your urine is a derivative of your blood. It's not a waste material. It's
No.
a blood. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
So if you've listened to us today and we did it again, we're at 25 minutes. We're rock stars.
Great.
Normally we talk for so long and it's wonderful. We have a great time, but we're trying to be very disciplined. If you're listening to all this, there's so much you can do to research. There's so many places you can go to look some of these things up. And it's again, it's all based on what experience are you having with your practice. where are you being directed to try something now? What is your body leading you toward wanting to consume or not consume? And
Mm.
it's all an experiment, and you'll find your way through it in the way that's best for you over time. There's no rush. Just because we talked about some things today, and you might either go, oh, maybe I've experienced that, or maybe I haven't. There's no rush to get anywhere.
Mhm.
So, see how it goes. But hopefully, this was at least interesting, and maybe it planted a few seeds. So, if you do feel this in a few years, you'll go, oh, maybe that's what's going on in my system now that I've worked with Shabambu. Any other closing thoughts, Joanne?
Um, no, I think that's great.
Okay. Well, thank you all for
Beautiful.
joining us. And
Yeah.
we'll see you again next time. Thanks for being interested in Shivambu. All right. Bye.
Ciao.